And we're live. Welcome back to the Patriot Sentinel. I'm your host, Rashard Tortorello. My co-host, Cam and Carrie. How you guys doing tonight?
Great.
I am doing great.
Oh, this has been a big news day. If you watched the White House press secretary in her press briefing this afternoon, explain to the rest of the world of why Trump decided to do a 2 week ceasefire with Iran is because they flinched and they came to the negotiating table. And I think this is good for the nation as well as good for the world. And we have talked about Iran never being allowed to get a nuclear weapon. And you guys know that we've been in war with Iran for 47 years, Kerry. And a lot of the terrorist attack and the attacks on our troops have Iranian fingerprints everywhere. So, do you think the Iranians flinching and Trump agreeing to a 2 week ceasefire is the right course of action?
Well, from what I saw, it was Pakistan that did the negotiations on our behalf, let's be honest. And those negotiations that were created gave us a 2 week hold. You open the port for 2 weeks and we won't shoot for 2 weeks. But if you're looking on the right avenues online, you'll see missiles are still being shot.
They're being still being fired into Israel, and they're still being fired. But I think
Yes.
we're on the right track. And Pakistan did broker a deal, and that was because of our relationship with Pakistan and our government. But Cam, has there been an increase in activity at Tinker Air Force Base?
I think it's we're just everybody's working and we're going through normal procedures. It's everybody has trained, everybody's ready to support the warfighter. So I think that everybody's just doing their job as effective and efficient, like everybody was hired over there.
I think this conflict, and I'm putting my trust that we have the right people leading this. General Kane and War Pete Hegseth are the right people at the right time. And so a lot of people may have doubt about the strategy, but as Trump says, you can't be panicking. We have to suffer just a little bit to get what we want. And most of you guys know that I am for this conflict of making sure and ensuring the Iranians never get a nuclear weapon. And don't forget, during the Gulf War, I was at Cobra Towers when we got hit with a terrorist attack. And we will never forget what happened to our troops because I lived it. And it came to be that the Iranians were involved. And I can tell you firsthand, we lost a lot of good people that day, firsthand knowledge of what Iran is capable of doing. And they are a regime built on crazy, and they can never get or have access to nuclear weapons. Now, here locally, in Oklahoma, uh, specifically in Cleveland County, Norman Ward 5, um, the city of Norman had 5 propositions carried. You recall what they were?
No. What
What
were
was the
they?
biggest one? Okay.
Norman's propositions? I couldn't tell you.
Did you vote yesterday? Did you go and vote yesterday?
Oh,
What did
you're
you
the
mark yes
proposition.
for?
Oh, the homeless shelter that went through. Roads, bridges. What was that? 8 million on roads and bridges. Did that pass? I didn't see that one.
Oh gosh, man. You're supposed to be on top of this. I mean, Cam knows what happened here in Cleveland County. Cam,
No.
what happened in
All I
Norman
cared
last
about
night?
was Trey. Trey
Hey,
had
I
to
was
win.
gonna say you guys had a huge win over there. So the
Yeah.
homeless shelter was passed, like you said. Uh, the propositions. A lot of people are talking about the tax increase, but it's not really a tax increase. So that's where I will say I am questioning if you guys are for or against this because there's like I've heard mixed numbers where they're like, oh, it's not going to affect anybody if we pass it. I'm going, then why are you trying to ask for a vote for the people if it's not going to make an impact? So, and I think there was a couple of school bonds that they were trying to also pass.
Not here in Cleveland County. Maybe not that I'm aware, but look, in Norman, we had five propositions. Um, I was for everyone besides Proposition 5. I have a hard time voting yes and for a tax increase to build a public shelter. But this is the second time this vote came up in Norman, and the first time was I think about 5 years ago that it did not pass. And we have a lot of homeless in Norman. It is a problem in some areas, but more problematic downtown. What's that?
Well,
What?
that's because Edmond drives their homeless to Norman. If our
Okay.
mayor talked to the mayor of Edmond, he would tell you why they don't have a homeless problem.
All right. Look. The point is that we do have a homeless problem, and I would rather see something done and be the wrong thing than kick the can down the road. Um, I was, it's going to be like a $16 or $18 increase for every family per year. I don't, look, many people believe that it's not the city's responsibility to fund a homeless shelter, but we are spending up to $900,000 a year with the temporary shelter. And after meeting with a city care person, um, she gave a compelling reason, and the majority of our Norman Business Association members changed their minds from no to yes. But as it stands, something needs to be done, and we did put it back to the vote of the people, and overwhelmingly it passed last night. But the most important thing for Ward 5, Kerry, is that Trey Kirby won the runoff last night, and the numbers were staggering. When he ran the first time in February, there was a three-man race between him, Shai Fenwick, and Diana Hutzel, and the runoff was between Trey Kirby and Diana Hutzel, and he smashed it out of the park last night with 1,600 votes, 53% of the vote. And we have Trey Kirby on the line now with us. Let's see if we can bring him in. Trey, can you hear us?
Hey, how you doing?
Trey Kirby is in the house, dude. I am so proud of you for the work you put in to this campaign and the volunteers that you rallied behind you. And I can say that Norman is better for this. The best person won the seat last night, and Carrie, you didn't come out last night, but I know you're just as proud of Trey as I am. But what question do you have for Trey right now? He's live.
I'm super stoked for you, Trey. I passed you this morning on Alameda. You're picking up signs, and I honked at you. So if you're wondering who honked, it was me. Just fangirl.
Yeah, I spent all day picking up them signs.
If you need any help out in my precinct, I can help out for you.
Well, that was the question. Talk about it. Ask about his campaign.
Well, tell us about your campaign.
I mean, not a lot to tell. I ran on protecting our watershed and not having the turnpike run through Ward 5 and making sure we don't get ran over with sprawl, so it's mainly about protecting Ward 5, especially from the turnpike.
Cam, do you know Trey Kirby?
Well, hey Trey, Cam here. Hey, question. Your first day when you walk into your office, your new office, what is the first thing you're gonna do? I want to know. I'm curious. What are you gonna do the very first day?
uh, I mean, I don't know, probably sit down with the city manager and the city attorney and see what we can do to possibly get some kind of offsets studies done to see if we can help. Like I've fought for the last 2 years to protect a local resident from having a substation put right 100 foot from his front door. So we didn't get it stopped, but I'm hoping we can put in some kind of offset to where that won't happen again to any other future residents. Have to put wording in it, of course, that if all the neighbors don't mind, that it could be allowed, because we don't want to stop progress, but we also don't want to put a substation or windmill or anything right on somebody's front door that moved out to the country for peace.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
So Trey has lived out in Ward 5 for most of his life, if not his entire life. And full disclosure, we are neighbors. And Trey, I made a comment last night to your parents that on our drive, Rose Rock Drive, we have two city council members on our drive. And you smiled when I said that, but in reality, um, the people of Ward 5 are looking up to you now. You have attended the majority of the city council meetings, and you have represented Ward 5 well. So, in addition to what Cam asked you about your first day, what is the rest of the year going to look like for Trey Kirby in Ward 5? So, are you going to have town halls? How are you going to communicate with Ward 5? And you gain more voters this time. And so, how are you going to engage in everybody who came out to vote for you yesterday?
Oh, I gave out my phone number to everybody I could online, and I'm going to try to do podcasts. I'll do emails, any town halls, pretty much anything I can do to communicate with everybody in Ward 5, because I wouldn't be sitting in this seat without the voters. The only reason I'm here is because the people who went out and door knocked and all the supporters. I was only one vote. The rest of them came from Ward 5. So I 100% want to make sure that everything I do while on that seat is because Ward 5 asked me to, and that's what they chose.
When you ran in February, you came in second place. So what did you do different this time here to rally the people behind you? Was it going to council? Was it talking to people in Ward 5 every weekend during the day? So how did your campaign pivot to go and have the increase in voters come out from February to last night? And I have to say, it was a great increase. And just to throw this out there, I know that Michael Nash is watching this, but you got more votes in this runoff than he did in this last primary.
Well, it was a lot to do with all the door knockers and the volunteers that helped our campaign get out there and make everybody aware of what we were for and what we were standing about. The first go around, you have to remember, I didn't get to knock doors or do anything because I had shattered my back in August. So I had a 360 fusion surgery in January, and I've just been learning to walk and everything since then. So during this process, I haven't done physical therapy. So I've used this opportunity to go and walk, because that's the one thing the doctor told me I could do. So I've just been walking and went from being able to walk 30 foot to being able to walk a half a mile a day. And soon I'll be back to 3 miles a day. So the biggest thing was being able to get back and get out so people can meet me themselves instead of being locked up in a house, with a hurt back.
Yeah.
It is, having back pain and have any physical pain does change a person's perspective. But on council, you are going to represent Ward 5. And I know that during the campaign, some people call it, oh, it's just politics, right? But there were a lot of unkind words and things done to you and said about you. But as a representative of Ward 5, would you be taking everybody's phone call, no matter who they are?
Yeah, I don't care who they are or how low they cut me. I'm here to represent every single person. I can't hold any personal grudges or vendettas. I mean, if somebody calls me, I'm going to answer the phone, and I'm going to do everything I can to help them and represent them no matter what, no matter if we agreed, no matter if they voted for me. I mean, that's why I got elected, was to represent Ward 5, and that means every single person.
I want to thank the viewers. This is Richard Tortorello, and we have Trey Kirby, the new city council member for Norman Ward 5, who ran a fantastic ground game. It was fantastic, and he really worked this. He worked it this time. Not that he didn't work the last time, but the vote showed last night that he went and did what he needed to do. And I'm very proud of Trey. Trey, when it comes to the Turnpike and OTA, how far are you willing to go to protect Ward 5, represent the interests of Ward 5? What is your plan to dealing with the Turnpike and the new alignment that it looks like it's affecting 75 homes? What do you say to those constituents?
I say people acted like we got beat before on the First Northwest, and the Pike Off OTA people, Amy Zarato, Rob Norman, everybody worked hard, and they got that whole Northwest shifted, or North-South shifted about a mile and a half to the west. So I don't think it's locked in yet. I think we still have a little fight in us. And like I've said and will continue to say, if there's any town in the state of Oklahoma that can stop that Turnpike Authority, it will be Norman. We are the third largest city, and we're full of spit and fire, and we haven't bowed down yet, and I don't think we need to start anytime soon. And the biggest way to make change is to stand tall and show them that we're not going to bend or we're not going to move. I mean, at some point in time, they might just have to reroute around us if they want that turnpike, but until it's on top of my house or anybody else's house, I say we stand tall and we fight. I'll always go to the table, especially to tell them no.
Exactly. And that's what they're expecting you to do. Trey, before we let you go, Carrie, do you have any questions to ask our new council member?
Yeah, you know me, and I'm groundwater and I'm watershed, and I've tried very hard to make sure our Lake Thunderbird watershed does not invite the GRDA onto our water. We have 77 counties. They regulate all but 2, and they do not need to touch Oklahoma or Norman's water. They're clowns that are funded by the Walton Foundation. They don't even know what they're doing. And what's even worse is they will not even respond to open records requests. They do all of their own water quality testing, and you just have to believe their results. They refuse to respond to even government officials and give their actual water quality testing. And they want to shut down access for us to use Lake Thunderbird. And so it's very important as our Ward 5 City Council that you make sure the GRDA does not invade our watershed.
Is that a question?
No, that's a concern. I want him to know of it.
Okay.
Oh, I'll
Trey,
continue to work with Robert Keys to make sure that don't happen, because Robert stays on top of all that, and he has my number. I have his. I try to call him anytime I have a question to stay educated on it. So I'll definitely stay with Robert Keys and make sure we can do everything to not let that happen. I know he cares a whole lot.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Trey.
Well, Trey, do you have any last words to say to Ward 5?
Me?
Say it again.
Yes, you had the last word.
Go, Trey.
Oh, I appreciate everybody voting for me. I will make sure that I represent y'all to the full, and I will always take the voice of the people.
And that is Trey Kirby, Ward 5's new city councilman. I want to congratulate you again on a job well done, and we'll be having you on later during the summertime. And feel free to come on, and if you have anything you want to talk about, we'd love to have you back on. And again, congratulations, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank y'all.
Yep.
Woo! That's
Man,
awesome.
I'll tell you, that was a great race he ran, and I am proud to call him not just neighbor but friend. He is the right man for the job at the right time, and there is no dispute anymore. The voters spoke last night, Carrie, and they said he's the one we want. So all the fighting needs to stop, and they need to get behind this guy, because now he is the elected official representing not just Ward 5, but the city of Norman.
Yep.
Wow.
The labor commissioner race, we have our next guest, Lisa Jan Liu, and she is waiting in the green room. Lisa, are you with us? There she is. Lisa, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
Lisa, how are you doing, sister?
I'm great. I'm sorry. I'm in my second home, which is my vehicle. You know, I just got back from I was in Tulsa, Norman, now back in Oklahoma City. So don't mind my home at the moment.
No. Everyone does their campaign from the car, and so do not worry about it. We get a late start, technical difficulties as always, but we are big fans of your race. I think you are putting in what you need to do. How many counties have you left? Have you not visited yet?
Last night it's 7 now. 7, and it's all falling on the west side of the state.
So for those that don't know Lisa's campaign or her platform, can you bring us up to speed on what and why you are running labor commissioners. Because look, a lot of people do know who you are. And I do know you have hit a lot of counties here, but there's some people that just don't know who Lisa Janlou is. So introduce yourself to our viewers, and then tell us what your platform is and why you're running to be labor commissioner.
Absolutely. So I'm a business owner myself. I come from a line of family members, a variety of different businesses. And so what really pushed me into the labor department race is that I was tired of seeing our government keep overstepping their it's not staying in their boundaries, right? We keep having more regulations. And so we like to say in Oklahoma that small businesses are the backbone of our community, but we reflect something very different when we keep adding new regulations to businesses. There's another fee, there's another permit. And so when they're the backbones of our community, we shouldn't keep them in this chokehold where they can't breathe and really flourish in their business, right? We've got to let them succeed and be successful so our communities thrive. So as a frustrated business owner and then growing up in my dad's business and seeing his frustration, really got me focused on this race. But second and most importantly is our youth. Our youth in the workplace and are really getting behind. We think education is bad, but workplace, job employment, you name it, is going downhill right now with education.
Mhm.
And so for the last 10 years of my life, I've sat on boards as a president, getting men and women of Oklahoma, getting our youth jobs. Last year, there was 220 women that were in a cosmetology program with the RISE program, got out,
Mm-hmm.
got their certification, and only two of them went back. So, guys, if we provide people with hope and opportunity, they will grab onto that and take it and have dignity and pride in what they're doing. We just got to stop stripping Oklahomans of those resources and tools and then point the finger at them why they're not doing what they need to do. We're making it really hard for people.
Yeah, I would agree. Cam, you had a question. What did you want to ask Lisa?
Hey, Lisa, you emphasize that you're not a career politician. If and when you become the labor commissioner, how are you going to lead your department to help Oklahomans?
Well, first I was at a forum the other day and they asked something similar. Like, when you get in there, what are you going to do the first 30 days? I'm like, 30 days, man, that's a short amount of time jumping into a department like that. And coming from the business side, you need about a good 90 days to see what's going on with the department, what's happening. And so really getting in there, see what's happening. Looking at the budget of the labor department, I was looking the top heavy on the administrative side. Let's see what's going on within the department and then move from there. We really need to focus on getting into all the schools across the state and our technical schools and getting them connected. I have a few ideas I've wanted to share. I've been waiting for you three to share my ideas of how we can get rural Oklahoma thriving, keeping people from their communities in their communities without having to branch out across the state to bigger cities.
Wow.
Yes, no, I see it in healthcare big time. I hear you.
Yeah, so, well, I'll just jump into it then, guys, because I'm so excited talking. I love all three of you, and I'm passionate about what we're talking about. So here's the thing. If we can start motivating our youth, and I was up in the Panhandle area not too long ago, and they said, Lisa, the problem is we have great career tech schools out this way. They get their certifications, and they're gone. They go to Tulsa, they go to Oklahoma City. It takes us 2 hours to get a plumber to our city. How do we keep them here? Well, instead of giving all the huge companies out of California, New York, Texas these incentives, what we need to do is the labor department needs to connect with our career techs, connect with our high schools saying, hey, these are the tools that you need to be a successful business, right? Here are your laws. Here are the things that you need to get up on your feet. Working with local city of how they can provide incentives for young people to start up their businesses. First 3 years, get tax cuts to stay in Fairview, Oklahoma, right? And so if they stay in their community, what that does is bring business to the community, provides jobs for their community, and then it keeps families together. I'm sure families hate to see their grandkids and their kids leaving off to bigger cities, so they could stay there in their city, get a great jump start. I think those are the kind of things that we need to jump into Oklahoma and keep our communities thriving.
Absolutely. No, I see it
So
across
Lisa,
Oklahoma on a
go
grand
ahead.
scale, and it's been unreal in healthcare. And you've heard me say this, how we caught the healthcare authority illegally shutting down 111 rural healthcare independent providers. And the county commissioner, or not county commissioner, sorry, the healthcare authority board member admitting to doing it on purpose. We aren't in a
Wow.
healthcare desert. We've allowed a regulating body to fire and steal and extort from Oklahomans. And how can the labor commissioner, how could a rural provider contact a labor commissioner and say, this is what's happening to me, make them follow the law? Is there a transition here where the labor commissioner could help?
You know, I'm assuming because I'm not sure on that aspect. Is really the labor departments to advocate for businesses, which healthcare is a business, and going to meet with legislators and saying, hey, this is going on, what can we do moving forward? But you need someone that has a strong backbone that will go and advocate for businesses, which I've done many years advocating for communities, businesses. So I'm no stranger to it.
Hey Lisa, so do you think the biggest obstacle or challenge of the Labor Commission is rural community employment in the state of Oklahoma? What do you see? What's the biggest challenge that you're seeing right now?
The biggest challenge, yes, businesses in rural community is a huge one. Another big one is businesses. So we have good businesses, right? We have people that are out there following the law, doing what they're supposed to do, but we really have a lot of bad actors too, and our politicians are ignoring it. So we've got to get someone in there that will go in and tackle those problems. We've got a business I know of right now that I have personally put a complaint in, and they are working people $2 or 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts, $2 an hour. And they're telling them you can get food stamps, you can get Medicaid, we'll pay you cash. So we've got to go in and stop those people immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That is the big problem because there was a big push for e-verify, which I'm not for. I'm not for government mandating businesses to use a program, which I've dealt with e-verify with other businesses across the state that choose to use it. But when we are using our immigration problem and putting it on small business owners to help navigate that, I don't think that's fair, and I don't think that's right. And so the problems are out there. We just got to get leadership that's willing to take those problems and go in and tackle it immediately.
Oh, where's Richard? Nope.
Yeah, I lost your sound. I'll wait. I'll ask a question while we're waiting on Rashard to get his sound back. So
Okay.
within the Labor Commission, and this is really just trying to help people understand what this job is, right? Most people have no idea. Like it's
Yeah,
a labor job, right?
that's right.
And so with that, how do we create a program in Oklahoma where we incentivize small business instead of a company out of Africa coming up? Qatar has bought 1 million acres in Oklahoma and is now in possession of 2 of our rare earth mineral mines. How do we prevent that prop up and prop up our small business to be successful?
So if I'm correct, and I've done my research and looked into this, local municipalities, I believe, will come up with that plan of if businesses coming in of a possible maybe 3-year tax break, or if that's deducting 50% of what those taxes look like. So I guess each town is a little different on how they would work that, but they could do 3 years, they could do 5 years, but I believe that is voted locally in their towns and their cities.
Okay.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
We hear
Yes.
Yes.
you.
I'm telling you that today of all days, I have technical difficulties. It does happen. I wish we had the staff like Fox News and a bunch of people doing the background work here. But I got 2 questions. A viewer just texted this to me, and it has to do with education. So she asks, as labor commissioner, what is your plan to establish collaboration between the high schools who are feeding the labor department? That's the first question, but she's asking, how do you get the kids ready for employment? Is that the function of the labor commissioner's job to team up with the state superintendent and work with the 2 departments to help high schoolers um, go and navigate the employment routes, the workforce routes?
Well, yeah, I don't think education and employment should never have been strangers with each other. They should have always been collaborating. Because, listen, I always give the example. People say, "Why does education have anything to do with workforce?" But if they can't read, write, they can't have your basic customer service skills, they are not going to make it in the workforce. And so the labor department and any other workforce program, the employment commission, workforce commission, all have to be active in our schools with our kids. Listen, our kids are so intelligent. I mean, more than I was. Guys, I'm so sorry. I think all y'all are great. But even when you guys were kids, because they have technology that is really giving them a boost. And literally all the information is on the palm of their hand with their phones, their tablets. So we've got to bring skill and trade back into the school, financial literacy back into the school.
And it seems like we lost her. She is driving, so we'll wait for her to come back. But do you guys think that labor and schools should work together, hand in hand, to educate? And there she's back. I think it's a good idea. I think this question begs further discussion. And Lisa, I was going over the question again. That should the labor commissioner work with the state superintendent in a capacity to drive high schoolers and help them make their decisions if they're not going to college to pick a vocation? Because we are rich. This state is rich in talent, but I think from a perspective, sometimes these kids they need guidance. So they get it at school very well. I mean, the schools do a great job, but how
You're being
much
sarcastic,
improvement?
right?
No,
Number 49
it does.
great job.
No, I'm going to push back on that because according to the methodology of how they're getting those numbers are different, because they're not including homeschoolers. Okay, and so now I'm just putting that aside. We do have an educated workforce. My question to Lisa is very straightforward. Are you willing to work if the opportunity presented itself with the state superintendent to work with the high schools to guide them? Because look, aviation is going to be the next booming career field in Oklahoma. But right now, you know why it takes you 2 weeks to have an HVAC guy come to your house? Is because we have no HVAC guys.
My
Plumbers,
son's
electricians,
graduating in July.
they have the pool for talents in the vocational fields, the critical fields, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, nursing. There's just not enough of those people doing the jobs. And now we have aviation, which is a growing industry in Oklahoma. Okay. So I think on labor and states, the superintendents, again, for the viewers who just tuned in now, what is your plan if the opportunity presented itself to work with the state superintendent to help guide these high schoolers who aren't going to college, but to funnel it into VOTEC.
Yeah, so I've said that since the very beginning of my campaign. I want to work directly with the next school superintendent, getting workforce programs, skill and trade programs back into our schools. I think that is a non-negotiable. I think that should just be as important as people talking about the Mississippi Miracle, bringing it back to. They need to talk about workforce programs being back into our schools. And I even said if whoever the next school superintendent was like, nope, we're not going to work with the labor department. We don't want to mesh the two. That is okay, because the next option we have is there's nonprofits out there for a reason, and there's churches. And I promise you, someone is going to bite, and we're going to pick up together and connect with our high school students.
Next question has to do with State Question 832. We have discussed it on the show. I have promoted it publicly in videos against any state mandated minimum wage increase. California has turned into a pile of crap, dumpster fire, and businesses aren't keeping up, and people are leaving California. Now, the majority of us, are against State Question 832. We don't believe, in fact, most of us are in businesses where we pay more than the minimum wage. All right. But having a mandated minimum wage, I think, would hurt Oklahoma business, and more importantly, the labor. What's your position on
Yes.
832?
I mean, I agree with you 100%, everything you said. I mean, my employee now gets paid more than minimum wage. And when you look at the state question and the increases over the year, it will really hurt small businesses, not if shut them down. And I was speaking with someone, and we talk about inflation. I think there was no cap on the after so many years, due to inflation, it will rise. And when you think of inflation, people are like, well, the cost is going up, but we can have our pay going up. What they don't understand is now that business owner is having to pay more for everything that comes with that business, and having to pay you more money might not be in the plan. So they will probably lose employees and lose their business. So we need to do better of explaining full circle of what this means for all Oklahomans, the employer and employee side. And I think the people that are encouraging 832 are just focusing on, of course, big dollar amount you get paid, and people are running with it. They really don't understand the root of it all.
Well, Carrie runs a successful business. Carrie, I mean, I know you pay your employee more than minimum wage. What's your opinion on 832?
You know, I can see both sides of that, because there are people, like you're saying, that are being paid squat and they cannot afford to provide for their family. And so they're using illegal, off the books means to provide for their family. That's the one side of it. The other side of it, as a business owner, my budget's my budget. What our government needs to get back to is, do you remember in the 90s when we had an event, a national event or a state event, it was illegal to price gouge? Do you remember that? It's now gone. It's COVID. You're going to pay 10 times because it's COVID. War
Yeah.
at Iran, you're going to pay 10 times because we're at war at Iran. It used to be illegal to price gouge. But since we haven't had a president step up and say, no, 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 you make that gas go right back. You make that apple go right back. That milk goes right back. You don't get to do that because of COVID. But nobody will step up and do that. And so now all of these products, you're right, as a business owner, have gone through the roof astronomically. But then my employees talk about, and it's now $3,000 a month for groceries.
Mm-hmm.
It now costs $100 to fill up.
But Carrie, what are you paying your employee? You're paying her more than the minimum wage anyways.
I am, and
right?
he's still struggling. Absolutely.
So we don't need a mandated policy by the states,
No,
mandating a minimum wage.
Yeah, we need our government to
What's
step
that?
up and stop price gouging.
Yeah,
Well,
and we need to
that's a
stop
separate issue.
increasing taxes. I know here in Oklahoma County, I mean, within the last 10 years, they're wanting a school bond passed. They're wanting, the jail tax passed, and a new sales tax passed, and you name it. And we keep having these taxes adding on. And so that's what people can't afford to live. What we need to do is cut back all the taxes, because are a red Republican state. I'm so confused sometimes when you see all the tax increases. We need to get rid of the tax increases, go back down, and then people will start can afford those apples and groceries. They're not paying, taxes for everything, and they keep growing. I know property taxes is outrageous.
Yeah, it is through, and they don't even
You know,
follow the law. They're administering it.
well,
Yeah.
there is a push at the state and the county level to get rid of property taxes, and that it's a the people who are for it. Look, I personally, if you buy a house and say you pay it off, why would you still have to pay taxes on it? And potentially, if you don't make your tax payment, the law changed about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer than that, where if you miss 3 years of property taxes, they can sell the liens, and somebody can own your house. And so they stopped doing that. I think it's 5 years, and they work with you. But the fact that when you talk about taxes, if you own your house outright, or if you own your house, you own your house. And I think the county is holding you hostage when you still
Yes.
have to pay taxes on your property. And I think that's wrong. And you're right. The biggest issue is taxes and inflation. Okay. And so this is one thing that we just don't need. Now, Cam, I know you're a civil servant. What's your take on 832?
It's awful. I'll be honest with you. It's another way to California, Oklahoma. And to me, when I hear people going, "Oh, well, we need a minimum wage increase," we need an inflation decrease, in my opinion. We need to really deflate the cost of living. If there's a one person household who is earning, how they could keep their family together, how they could bring, how to keep the family bond together instead of having mom and dad and sacrifice to make ends meet. It's hard, especially if you're a single mother or a single father. You have more respect towards me because this is a lot harder because it's more expensive. It's going to cost you more time. So I think we have more of an inflation problem with large profit margins.
Yeah,
Mm, good point.
greed.
Lisa, when you're going around and you're talking to constituents, I call them constituents, what is the number one issue they're selling you? What is the number one complaint that you're hearing?
One, they don't even know what a labor commissioner is, so there's not
Right.
many complaints. But no, really, not even. It's not even with the labor side. The number one frustration across the state, and I don't care what corner of the state it is, they're tired of career politicians. They are ready for result. I mean, it doesn't matter what candidate's in the room with me and what we're talking about. They will talk about they are tired of politicians hopping from one seat to another seat just to keep a job, and they're not there to serve the people. And so that has really been something that everyone's been on the same page with across the stage. And I'll be honest with you, that's
Mm.
why I'm here too, because I'm frustrated with it too.
Now, career politician, I mean, so how many terms makes a career politician? And how many terms are you pledging to serve?
Well, I want to serve both terms as labor commissioner.
And you're not going to use this for another career path to jump onto something higher?
I'll be honest with you. Right now, my only focus is the labor side, making sure Oklahomans are getting employed. I'm not getting any younger. I'm just getting older. I'm almost 40, you guys.
Right. She's not trying to be Nancy Pelosi and ride it out for 60 years.
No, no. I was telling my dad the other day, I want to go sit on a beach somewhere. I want to do my duty as my to my community and get people working and do my jobs. That's what I want to do.
So are people actually complaining about these career politicians who jump from seat to seat? Is that what you're hearing too? I mean, so you brought it up,
Well,
and I know
let,
a
let,
lot of people, I mean, they had the conversation with me too, and then Carrie, Cam, these
I've heard
career politicians say they'll serve 2 terms and they're done, and we see them 8 years from now still doing the same thing. So is that the number one? I mean, so look, one, when you go out and you talk to people and they don't know what you do, do you start the conversation by explaining what a labor commissioner does? And two, do you explain why you're doing it? You're doing it for them and not for your self enrichment.
Yes, I used to start off giving a bio about me and who I am. They were looking at me like a deer in the headlights, like, what is this lady talking about? Because they don't know what the labor commissioner is. So I have changed how I talk. I'm like, let me tell you what a labor commissioner is. And then they get more excited and engaged in the conversation. So that's how always I explain what the department does. I tell them a little bit about me and my background, the work that I've done in business and community service. But you know what, Rashard, when we think about career politicians, I always ride the fence with it. When the career politicians that aren't providing results are the problem. The career politicians that are sitting there and getting comfortable and you're not seeing results, that's the issue. If people are in service and they're sitting in a seat, and they're doing their job. They're doing what people ask them to do. Then if they're in their 12 years, if they're in their 20 years and they're doing their job, I don't see anyone upset with it. I'm sure at some time there's a cutoff and they got to go. But the problem is the career politicians that are now comfortable and they're not serving the state of Oklahoma.
Mm. Mm.
Yep.
Cam, have you seen that around? I mean, you've been around the longest in the political scene. Do you see this as a really big issue?
I'll be honest with you. When I first learned about labor commissioner, I was ignorant. I'm like, are they counting how many babies are being born? The labor commissioner? Like, what is that? So I had no idea. And then once I started learning about, like, hey, ethical practices, labor audits, just the wages, that's where I went, it's not about birth rates. Got it. So yeah, so far there's a lot of people who don't know what labor commissioner what they really do. But I'm glad you're teaching Lisa. I'm glad you're teaching people about what they truly do, because a lot of people just think is, hey, it's a seat warmer for my next step into politics. Potentially want to go as a lieutenant governor from labor commissioner, or kind of just keep going up the chain of command in the political world. So I can see that.
Yeah, before I got in this race, everyone was like, don't do it. Usually people who term out as legislators, they jump into this race. It's funny because two of the guys I'm running against is exactly what happened. But that's what I was told before even getting into the race. So people do it.
Yeah, and I could tell you one of those individuals, I'm not going to name names, planned to sneak his way into this seat and tried to arrange it before it was even time. And it's just wrong. You got to be a leader and you got to work it and you got to fight for it and you got to win the vote. If you're going to try to sneak your way into a seat, that's not a leader and that's no one I'm going to vote for.
Yep, that's right.
Hey, we have comments coming in here. So, career politicians should have deliverables just as we do at our jobs. It's a good point.
Yes.
Minimum wage was never meant for adults. So we'll talk about minimum wage. So why are the proponents of State Question 832 so fixated on having a state mandated minimum wage? What do you think?
Every person that gets out of jail starts at minimum wage, gets out of prison, starts at minimum wage, drops out of high school is at minimum wage, stayed home with their child until they graduated high school is starting at minimum wage. I think you're underestimating the number of people that are trying to function on this wage.
But
Yeah.
I think
Well, I was gonna say, when I got out of the service. Go ahead,
Mhm.
Richard.
No, what I'm saying, this is I'm just asking the question. Okay, there's nobody I know that's on minimum wage. Okay, even people who
Where
are
do you
divorced who have
live,
gone back
Mr. Oligarch?
No, look. The question is, why should we have a mandated minimum wage in the states when people get paid the minimum wage? They are getting minimum wage, and sometimes they're getting paid higher than a minimum wage. Now, my question to Lisa, as the next labor commissioner, is that do you think the proponents are doing this to help just the poor, downtrodden people who don't have an education, have a living wage when the minimum wage was never meant to be a livable wage. It was meant to be a stepping stone. Now, if you got divorced, I can see, look, Carrie, I'm not heartless. If you were just released from prison, I can see you taking advantage of this. If you just recently divorced, you got fired from a job, okay, and you don't have the qualifications to go into a lateral position paying the same, I can see this. But the state does not have to mandate it because I think most employers will pay you far above the minimum wage. So Lisa, as a labor commissioner, why do you think they're pushing this? Is it because they want to help those prisoners get a good paying job? Or do they want to drag it out in a leftist dream and build this new utopia and guarantee everybody, look, if you mandate this, this is what I'm afraid of. And California is showing this. The East Coast is showing this to us too as well. If you mandate a minimum wage, there's no incentive for them to do better for themselves. Okay.
True.
They're going to live on that wage, and you can see them 10, 4 years, 5 years still living minimum wage. I think you shorten it, let them work. It's a merit-based system. Now, this is an opinion question. So what's your opinion on this?
This is the thing, there are a lot of people, there are single parents out there working several jobs. Some are minimum wage, some are a little above minimum wage, and they can't keep their head above water. But here's another thing that I've noticed working with community members or people of Oklahoma is they don't have the connections to decent jobs. They are out there. They are. It's just getting them connected to those jobs is the problem, which is surprising because you would think it would be a lot easier, and it's not. Right now in the construction industry, I worked on a program with a construction company and the nonprofit that I was sitting as president for, of getting men and women who are just getting out of prison to get into the workforce, because people who were incarcerated coming out getting a job at Sonic making $7.25 an hour were expected for them to pay rent, pay their fines back to the state, pay their bills. If they have kids, take care of them. There is no way $7.25 an hour would pay for those things. But in the last 5-6 years in Oklahoma, doors have opened to many other opportunities that are still very new. It's just not out there connecting with everyone. Now people who are incarcerated can come out, get in the construction industry, pushing a broom, just simply pushing a broom on construction site, making $20 an hour. And then they could partner with Metro Tech, get their certification or licensing in whichever trade or skill they choose, and then make more money. So the problem is, and I think we focus on minimum wage everywhere, that shouldn't be the focus, because right now we're in a shift where we need to start connecting all the dots with everyone and get people to work at these other jobs that are needing employees. The construction industry needs it. The healthcare industry needs it. Our rural communities need businesses. Like I said, get our young people out there, start businesses. There's ways of doing it. We've got to get people that are motivated, that have the energy, and are connected with multiple different entities, get them together to provide results.
Carrie, I know you said that I'm an oligarch, but explain your position. Why is
Because you don't hang out with anyone on minimum wage. I work in healthcare. I see it every day.
No, said that you cut out. What is your position on this? I mean,
well, I said you live on the west side of Norman in a multi-million-dollar home. You don't hang out with people on minimum wage, so you wouldn't know people on minimum wage. But when you're in healthcare, you see people that are the fallout of society's choices. And many people are struggling. And I will tell, most people do not know that when I got divorced, I had to go on food stamps. I had to go on government assistance. And my minimum wage part-time job kicked me off of government assistance. I had to work 3 cash under the table jobs while I went to college until I was finally a junior, and a professor informed me there are grants for single mothers. No one told me that at the welfare office. No one told me that when I'm applying for school. And I finally started getting help my junior year. But there are programs in place to help people, but no one talks about it. And when I brought this to the school in the welfare office at the time, because back then it was stamps, it wasn't cards yet. I was told if they told people this, girls would have babies to get free college. That was their excuse. So if when you're not surrounded with the suffering, you don't know the suffering exists and the magnitude it exists. But minimum wage is a killer of society. You can't get out of it. You can't step up to support your family, so you fall back onto government assistance because you lose government assistance with minimum wage, your health care and your food stamps.
Well, I can see your position, and I'm very empathetic towards people in those situations, but I still think that 832 again, like potential for 836 is a dangerous slope in Oklahoma. And Cam, I know you've seen this. We had this conversation before, in a lot of different circles. Is that Carrie, you worked your way out of it, okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like a viewer just like a viewer just look a viewer just said right here that there's a disconnect with the information. You didn't have the information, okay?
because
But at the end, look, I think not just the labor commissioner, but everybody needs to have that information, but you worked your way out of it. And what I'm trying to say is you worked from where you came from to what you are doing now, and you are truly a success story. Now, Cam, we filmed an 832 commercials about 2 weeks ago. You are a civil servant, the greatest I know in our circle, but you have to agree that the 832 is a disaster for Oklahoma because, again, you got a group that wants to California Oklahoma by mandating it. All I'm saying is that people are paid the ones I know higher than the minimum wage. We don't need to mandate it because if you mandate it, people will never have the incentive to get off of it. That's all I'm saying.
See, what I think is a little bit more simpler than that. I think that everybody's looking at, hey, instead of getting paid 7.25, I could get 15 to $30 an hour. But what they're not seeing is that if this passes, there's going to be the workforce that's considered labor is going to reduce drastically. You're going to be automation. You're going to be having companies going out of the state. And right now, we are having a hard time having those connections and uh, those individuals into rural communities. Can you imagine if we mandate that? Like if you're in let's say Kingfisher rural area and you need to have something on HVAC, good luck because minimum wage is this is the mandate and you need to make a whole whatever it is. It's gonna reduce the labor. And I think, like you said, it's a slippery slope. When I got out of the service and my first job was at the college, I was getting paid $7.25, but also I was using my GI Bill and I was trying to get myself, in a world of being smart because my parents were not around. The only person who was supporting me was my wife, and we were working together to become successful. So, you have to lean on each other, your family and all that. So, yeah, and look, if Carrie was around and Lisa was the labor commissioner, I know Lisa would have taken care of Carrie. I know that. So come on.
And that's the thing. The hard part is your quality of life is better not working than being on minimum wage because you can't afford rent, you can't afford utilities, you can't afford groceries. By all means, you don't have health insurance. But if I choose not to work, I get a free house, I get $1,000 a month minimum of food stamps, and I get free health care.
Well, all conversations for look, all conversations for next. This is a great conversation, but Lisa, you have the last word, and I want you to tell us and the viewers why they should vote for you as labor commissioner. Why are you so special that they should come out and campaign, donate to your campaign, and vote for you?
I need your support and I need your votes because I've been doing it for the last 10 years, providing results for Oklahoma. I understand the glories of being a business owner and I understand the struggles. And what sets me apart from the other people in the race is my passion for it. When you go into anything in life, I truly believe when you have the heart for it, the love for it, the passion for it, your results are very different than you just going in and clock in and saying, I want a paycheck. And so I want to put this passion to use for the state of Oklahoma to make sure, because I'm a single mom, to make sure that single parents out there, young students out there, or business owners who are just trying to survive have the resources and tools to be successful. I truly want to see people of Oklahoma to make it. I love my state. I've traveled all over the United States and wouldn't trade it for anything. And I want people to stay in Oklahoma. And so, again, I need your support. You know, campaigns come with support of financial support, people making phone calls, door knocking, sharing it on social media or having platforms like this. I have been working extremely hard, and I want to continue working for the state of Oklahoma, providing everything and anything that the people need.
Guri, where can people find out more about your campaign?
John Liu for OKLabor.com.
Jan Liu at okforlabor.com. And I appreciate you coming on, Lisa. I know you're a stand-up person. That you agree that state question 832 is a horrible idea. I think you do, but I know you do. And I
Yes,
want to thank you for coming on. And come on anytime. Anytime you have anything you want to update in the campaign, just give Carrie a text and say, "Hey, can you have me on?"
I will.
And we will certainly have you back on. So thank you again.
Thank you, guys. You guys have a good night.
Good to see you.
Bye. Good to see you guys. Bye.
So we have some new programming changes. We will be on 3 days a week starting next week. Cam, look at Cam's eyes glow up. But we did so we're gonna work with Cam. But Cam, it's not a surprise. I think we hadn't talked to you in about 6 hours, but we were kicking on the idea of having a Monday and Friday 11 a.m. show because
Nice.
people are asking to get on the show, and then we have our special show. Our flagship show is always going to be on Wednesdays. That's never going to change. And I am hiring a producer, so we are looking for a producer to produce a show because there's a lot that needs to go on before the show happens. And if anybody watching this has any experience, or hell, man, we'll just intern your ass. Submit an application to either one of us, and you can gain the experience. And there's a lot that goes on before the show, and the problem is that there's a lot that we're doing before the show, and we have to race to the studios in our home like we did tonight, and get everything put together. And because of that, we have some technical issues. The mic cuts out, or the cameras start, they stop rolling. But people do like what we have to say because we have a lot of valuable information. And I think having an intern producer produce the show and run the cameras and run everything for us, this is our way into the big time. And so surprise, Cam. No.
That's
No.
awesome, dude.
So
I'm excited. I'm like, okay, well, I guess, what do I gotta do? I gotta get a new haircut? Do I gotta go bald? What's the next thing?
No, it's
Really mustache.
we're still having those we're still having those conversations because we have advertisers who want to advertise on the show, and so like I said, the Wednesday shows will always be the flagship. This is the original show, but the most important thing is that that this team never changes, and we have a lot of new technology coming on board, and like I said, there is a lot of work that goes on producing this, and we just need that second person. But I think having 3 shows a week is what they're asking for, and we can have more people on during the week, rotate in and out. And but we haven't made a decision yet. The other thing too is that we have elections in the states, and we want a chance for all the governor, lieutenant governors to come on the show, the attorney generals to come on the show, and a 1 day a week show, it doesn't cut it. I don't think. I think we need more people on, and more shows a week to have everyone come on. I just think it is here, and we're having this public conversation. But the biggest news is the Ward 5 race and the propositions in Norman. I love Norman. I don't agree with everybody 100%, but on the propositions, the fairish way and the the Republic way of doing things is to go out and let the people decide. And the homeless shelter is the biggest issue in Norman, but it passed last night. It failed the first time 5 years ago, and this is what happens when you kick the can down the road and you don't address the situation. Now, Carrie, you may see it differently, but Cam, you may see it differently too as well. But if they had taken care of this when I was on the dais and worked towards a solution, would this still be a problem today? And I do know that Norman gets dumped on because we have the facilities here, and that's unfair. But it's also unfair to the citizens and the business owners to have people roaming around downtown on drugs, high on cocaine or whatever. And, I don't know. I think in the military camp, making a decision is better than making no decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, Carrie, I'll let you answer first, and Cam, you can answer. And if you agree with me or disagree with me, I totally get it. So, ladies first.
This is putting a Band-Aid on staph infection instead of addressing the infection.
Oh.
But that's the thing. They don't have anyone with any kind of delegating experience, mental health, read a federal bid, actual commercial construction bid. I mean, they pretty much hand the money to the people that tell them, okay, I got to do this for you. It's going to cost this much money. Okay, I trust you. Here's our taxpayers' money. Instead, our state should have implemented a mental health program. But instead, our mental health decided to pay a federal fine daily than rather implement a mental health program as a state. We have major problems shuffling it down on my tax dollars instead of using my tax dollars to fix the problem.
That would be a great solution. I would be for that. Because you're right. If the state had mandated that program, we wouldn't be having this issue today. These places they have no place to go. They do bring people here. If you're arrested and more exhibiting signs of craziness, Cam, they bring you to Norman.
Yeah.
All right. And so that is a big issue.
Yeah. Drive you out of town.
Yeah. See, what I'm looking at is give me an example or a city that bringing homeless or a shelter has been successful, and how does that look like? Because I will tell you, look, when it's Seattle, good luck. San Francisco, good luck. Oregon, Portland, Oregon, Eugene, Oregon, San Antonio, Austin. It looks to me, it looks more like a virus. And I think the causation of this is mental health. I really do think so. So I'll be honest with you. I think they're just putting a band-aid. I'm with you. Putting a band-aid. They're not fixing the problem. They're not addressing the problem.
They're not going to, because they're not equipped. The city of Norman does not compensate our mayor and county commissioners to hire qualified people for that position. That's why I'm so excited Trey won, because we finally have somebody that's merit-based to be there.
I agree. And with that, I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight and listening to what we have to say. I know you can spend your time on a Wednesday night doing other things with your friends and family, and most people watch this on the reruns, but this is our opportunity to have these conversations, and I'd like to have more guests on. We have big races coming up. We have a lot of things happening around the state as well as around the nation, and we truly love, I can say, I'm going to speak for all of us, what we do. And I want to thank you, Kim. I want to thank you, Carrie. We may not agree on a lot of things here, but we have a good time disagreeing on the 5% that we do not agree on. And calling me an oligarch. I'm going to get a t-shirt that says, Carrie thinks I'm an oligarch on the west side.
Zoom in on your backyard. There's no one making minimum wage with that in their backyard. Maybe you're a cool guy.
Maybe some homeless person. Mm-hmm.
Guarantee you he's not. All right. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye, y'all.